back to my channel. I'm Charlie Starr, and today I'm going to teach you about the 5 elements of reality or existence as we know it. The 5 ancient elements are water, earth, fire, air, and spirit. It's foundational to have a basic understanding of these ancient elements if you're going to begin to explore topics such as astrology, tarot, Ayurvedic medicine, working with the chakra systems, or even practical magic. These elements are so broadly referenced that they're even showing up in things such as the movie The Fifth Element or Avatar The Last Airbender, featuring as sort of main staples to the plots and themes of the stories. These concepts can be helpful to understand even if you're a sci-fi or fantasy fan. For me, it was astrology and tarot that really got me interested in the elements. They kind of start to like pop up in these topics, and I would get really confused as to what the symbolism was or what they were referencing. It kind of seemed like a lot to handle until I started learning the basics of these elements and what they actually meant. I had a misconception that the ancient elements were like an outdated table of periodic elements and therefore should be discarded as irrelevant. However, unlike the periodic table, which is about examining matter at its smallest particulate formations, the ancient elements provide a way of classifying energy types so that we can understand them more thoroughly. Quick history lesson. How did we get to know about the elements and find out about them in the first place? The elements have their roots in many cultures across the world, including but not limited to the indigenous tribes of North America right here in our own backyard. Also, Greece, Italy, Tibet, the Babylonian Empire, Japan, and many more. The earliest record I found about it was in 450 BC by a Greek philosopher named Empedocles, which I hope I'm saying that right, but later it was adopted and promoted by Aristotle. However, because the ancient elements have their roots in the indigenous tribes of North America, whose records were largely destroyed, and also because these elements were found in India, one of the oldest civilizations known to man, there's really no telling how old these elements actually are. Side note, this is not to get confused with the Chinese elements, which are wood, water, fire, metal. The ancient element system we're talking about today is water, air, earth, fire, and spirit. Let's review each of these elements and their qualities, starting with spirit. The first element is spirit, which is consciousness. The key phrase here is I am. This is the element that is foundational to all the other elements. It's the one that's the most overlooked because it's the most misunderstood and the most mysterious element. This element has different names depending on what culture you look at. It is also called space, ether, or void. Native American tribes often called it sacred sound, and in India, it's called akasha. It's most likely the substance between atoms that scientists until recently thought was empty space containing nothing. Current theoretical physicists calculate that this actually does have matter, referred to sometimes as dark matter. Dark because it's so shrouded in mystery. This should give you some idea of the quality of this element, which is very subtle, but this element actually is awareness. It's the part of us that we feel is ourselves, that we perceive with, that we experience with, that we self-actualize with. This consciousness impresses itself on the other 4 elements as intention. Since, in a way, consciousness is our intention, the other 4 elements can be viewed through a lens of their relationship to intention. Because this element is basically the cosmic cause of creation, it doesn't have associations the same way that the other 4 do. But it could roughly be associated to the crown chakra, And as far as a part of the body, it could be attributed to the space in between our atoms. Water. Water is the giver of life. The giver of life. Okay, but seriously, water is the cosmic giver of life. In so many mythologies around the world about the origin stories of our planet, water is behind it all. Water is the cosmic womb and our great primordial mother. How does water interact with intention or consciousness? Water has the ability to receive intention, to create from intention, and also to dissolve intention. Because of its ability to receive intention, it is the element of intuition, most closely linked to the spirit element. It's the most sensitive to spirit, and this is the element of sensations and emotions. Because of its ability to create, it is the element of creativity as well. And because of water's ability to dissolve intention, it is considered an element of cleansing, healing, and sometimes death. In astrology, the water signs are Cancer, Scorpio, and Pisces. In the tarot deck, the water element is associated with cups. See the little cup? And in the body, the water is associated with, well, first of all, our bodies are 60% water to begin with. So water is pretty integral, but basically any secretions that our bodies have, it's also connected to the stomach and the gut. It's also associated to the pituitary and the pineal gland, and as well to our reproductive anatomy and our breasts. The chakra I most associate with water would be the sacral chakra, which would be your like internal sex organ. Air. The air element could be considered the messenger. And the key phrase is sometimes also called wind. Air is the mind. Air has the ability to carry intention from one location to another. But instead of giving us an emotion or creating something from it, air takes on the task of compacting that intention down into its most important essence so that it can quickly and easily transport that intention somewhere else. It's not the job of air or our mind to contain consciousness, but rather to reduce it down so that it can be communicated. A lot of people think that consciousness is the mind, which is stored in the brain, but that's actually not true. Consciousness is actually in between each and every one of our atoms. That's why people talk about the body having its own intelligence and how the body can make decisions and function or choose not to function with or without our mind's will. The function of the mind is to communicate consciousness through thoughts, which then becomes spoken and written word. Mistaking the mind for the consciousness is probably due to our era, which is very air ruled and air dominant, prioritizing rationalism and scientific thought. Not that these are bad things, but it can lead to some confusion. In astrology, the air signs are Gemini, Libra, and Aquarius, and the most famous air planet is Mercury. The chakra I most closely associate with the air element is probably the throat chakra. In the body, the air rules the central and the peripheral nervous system, the lungs, the bronchial tubes, and actually the shoulders, arms, and hands. Look at that air. In tarot, the symbol for air is a sword. Earth. Earth is the preserver. The key phrase here is I retain. Earth is going to be your most dense, heavy, fixed form of energy. Earth has the power to retain whatever intention was put into it. So that's kind of like the power of the earth element when you compare it to the other elements, is that it sustains itself in the form that it's in. Whereas some of the other elements are more fluid, like water or ether or air, particularly. Fire can be extinguished and travels wherever there's fuel. Earth is going to stay pretty much fixed the intention you put in it. Earth, like water, can be set with intention. We call that when the earth is fertilized. So we can put intention into the earth element. We can also create and shape the earth element with our own hands. When we do this, actually, either way that we do this, we find this to be beautiful. So, earth is not only the mother element like water, but she is also the element of beauty. Because of Earth's fixed quality, she is associated with, most strongly, the physical world that we exist in and the scientific laws that govern the Earth quality, which we experience as relatively fixed and stable and consistent laws of science. Earth is associated with the natural world, our food, our tangible bodies, our resources, our sensuality, safety, our security, and actually our ancestry. In astrology, signs that are earth signs are Taurus, Virgo, and Capricorn. In tarot, earth is represented by the suit, the pentacles, or the coins. Earth has dominion over, of course, the whole physical body, but is strongly associated with the structural parts, the bones, the joints, the teeth, the nails, and also with the organs associated to the five physical senses. So the nose, the ears, the eyes, the tongue, and the skin. The chakra I most strongly associate with the earth element is the root chakra, which is located right at your tailbone. And finally, the fire element. Woohoo! The fire element I consider the driver. The key phrase for it would be I ignite. What is the fire element all about? So, the fire element is that spark that ignites us into action. Fire is a sign of passion and drive. And where would we be if we didn't have the fire element? Without intent, without the fire in our intentions, we wouldn't get anything done, right? Like there's no driving force. So intention without fire is apathy, is laziness, is procrastination, is sitting around and thinking about it and not ever getting up off the couch. Like fire lights, like the phrase light a fire under, you know, you know what they say. And fire is actually your feedback loop for where you should be going. So you can use fire like a guiding compass for how to get where you want to go. How do you do that? You have to start to pay attention to the flame and the spark and the energy inside of you. So when you're doing something that energizes you, notice it. What is that thing? When you have an idea, and that idea instantly lights you up, that is your compass telling you that that's the direction to go. If there's something, an idea that pops up or a task that needs to be completed, and you immediately lose energy, you feel like drained or you feel sort of like shut down inside, that's your compass, inner compass, telling you don't go that way. So not only will fire tell you where to go, but fire will also give you the energy and the drive to get to the destination. Fire is an agent for change and the driving force for absolutely everything. Some people consider the fire element to actually be the spirit element. The fire element is associated with the will, the ego, the life force, and passion. Fire signs in astrology are Aries, Leo, and Sagittarius, and your most fiery planets are, of course, the Sun and Mars. In tarot, the fire sign is represented by the wands. I don't know if you can see on my pinky, there's a little wooden wand. In the body, it rules the heart and the circulatory system, of course, the blood and the heat that the circulatory system brings to us. Along with it, any like very intense, passionate feelings such as pain and pleasure. The chakras I most associate with the fire element are the solar plexus, which is considered the seat of the will and the ego, and then, of course, the heart chakra. That's all, folks. That wraps up our video about the five ancient elements and what they do. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you liked my content, please make sure to hit the subscribe button, sign up for notifications, and like this video. Thank you so much for watching.